Hello everybody. So this video is entitled Stretch's First $1 billion Day? MSTR stock, of course, being up quite a bit today, and we're going to talk about Bitcoin being past 75k, which is a big news, and I will give you my takes on the latest Saylor interview with Bankless. There's very interesting takes that I want to cover. First of all, let's talk about MSTR finally catching up and beating Bitcoin today. We're doing better than Bitcoin today. Up 6%, Bitcoin's only up 2.5%. We are a rocket today. I found this nice image. I'm loving it. Who would not love this? This is amazing. Little point here on the Fear and Greed Index. Absolutely amazing, the Fear and Greed Index. We are bouncing back, and could we even get into greed at one point? Or optimism? It's very, 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 very nice. We are at 55. We could cross into greed. The sentiment has shifted so quickly, and you know that's something to be celebrated, Ted, when you consider how much Bitcoin has been battered. Like Bitcoin has been, I mean, we've had a very tough 6 to 7 months in Bitcoin. To think they took our Bitcoin down to $62,000, and I remember when we actually breached intraday, it was the 60 mark. I remember people saying, "Oh, it's going back to 30, it's going back to 40." But guess what? If it had gone to 30 or 40, you would have had people who would have told you it's going back to 15. And if it had gone back to 15, you would have people who have told you it's going back to 5. You're always going to have peak fear at the bottom and people telling you it's going lower, right? Or for oil, if you saw the oil conflict, when we were very high on oil, 115, you had peak fear. You had people saying oil is going to 180, oil is going to 200 barrels. So, you know, the narratives get scarier as we drop. The more we drop, the scarier the narrative gets. It's a vicious cycle. And so we're back at 75k. I am so pleased to see the resiliency of Bitcoin throughout this Middle East conflict. And I do maintain what I've said in multiple of my videos, which is in the 2020s, your only job is to not get shaken out. Your only job is to not get shaken out in the 2020s. And if you're afraid that, you'll be scared and you'll sell, if you're afraid of a volatility, if you don't like volatility, well, you can rent Saylor's diamond hands. As Saylor has always said, I've lived myself to be a billionaire, and then I lost 99.9% of it, and then I built it all back. You can rent diamond hands. And Saylor, of course, has their diamond hands for rent in the form of STRC. That's kind of the way I look at STRC sometimes. Let's talk about this. So, contingent on us not getting a tweet, or contingent on us not getting a statement at a press conference or when he gets into a helicopter or anything like that, if we don't get a tweet, if we don't get a statement, if we don't get anything that derails the market, which of course is totally random, right? That's totally random whether we get a tweet or not, anytime, at any point during the day. It looks like we are going to do $1 billion on Stretch, which is absolutely amazing. Stretch has been open for 2 hours only, and we already did 291 million. Now remember, we were off by something like almost 50% last week. I do believe Stretch.live's engine is getting better, and so they're going to be less off and less off as we move forward. But even if this number is true, I think it's higher, obviously, because we've been off for so many weeks. But even if it's true, that means, I mean, with the hours left in the trading day, it means we're going to do $1 billion. Again, contingent on no tweet, right? And so of course, big day tomorrow is ex-dividend. There will be a sell-off in Stretch. The question is, how long does it take us for us to reclaim 100? How long is that going to take us? Interesting point, someone in the comment section saying that the common ATM on the MSTR common would start once actually Stretch ATM can't function. You know, I don't know about that. I know what I want, and what I want is I want him to ATM on the common as well as ATM on Stretch. And I do agree with Saylor. I think he's right to not issue any of the other preferreds. I think he's going to be done with the other preferreds. It makes very little sense. He should go all in on the iPhone moment of the company, which is really this instrument that was engineered to trade at 100. And what he said in that Bankless interview is exactly that. Is like we've tried 19 different things, and in the end we ended up doing the right thing. And he quoted Churchill. I can't remember that quote from Churchill, but Churchill praising Americans always doing the right thing, but it takes them like 10 times or 20 times to get to the right thing, but they always do the right thing. That was a really good quote, by the way. And so Saylor quoted that. Let's talk about Epic Saylor. Let's talk about the interview. First of all, you know my surprise of him going on Bankless. I mean these are the ETH guys. They're the big Ethereum people, right? They were calling Ethereum ultrasound money back 3 years ago, and kind of quote unquote bashing Bitcoin, saying Bitcoin. Well, I don't know if he did that, but allegedly that's what I think. Yeah, they were kind of saying, "Oh, Bitcoin is not going to do much," and they were very pro ETH. Of course, Bitcoin won the store of value. I don't follow this channel too much. I don't know what their stance on Bitcoin is now. The point is, this was an Epic Saylor interview. There was a lot of very interesting things. So let's go for it. Of course, he said that before. He stopped trying to explain Bitcoin. He said, "I'm the person who tried to explain Bitcoin perhaps the most in recent history." And he established that he can't convince more than 3 to 4% of people right now. And that's really, really good. I mean, think about Max Keiser. Max Keiser was never able to convince as many people as Saylor was able to convince. I mean, Max Keiser was not even able to convince Saylor in the early days. Anyways, so he stopped trying to explain. It takes thousands of hours to explain Bitcoin. So now he found a new thing. He found a new way, which is trying to explain Stretch. And how does he try to explain Stretch? 11.5% with no volatility. And he believes that he can convince just about everyone in seconds with that pitch. 11.5% no volatility checking account that pays 11%. He also mentioned over a longer term, he thinks the instrument will be between 7 and 8% as SOFR goes back to zero. That's not what he said, but that's what I believe. That SOFR is going back to zero, so or close to zero. So 7 or 8% is the long term for Stretch. I entirely agree with that. Perhaps even lower when the rates eventually go back to zero, because we have no choice, right? There's too much debt in the system. But anyways, and the other selling point, of course, for retirees is the tax deferred. Like imagine you're 75, you're not planning to die, right? But imagine you're 75 and you say you pass away at 85. Well, that's the perfect instrument because you wouldn't pay any tax, right? It's tax deferred. And then let's say you have heirs and you pass down that money to your heirs, they would get a step-up basis. And so they wouldn't pay tax for 10 years either. So for retirees, this is absolutely amazing. At least with the U.S. tax code, the way it's written as it is, it's actually amazing. And keep in mind, like Stretch, of course, if you live in Texas like me, or if you're in Florida, taxes are less, right? But what if you live in California, or what if you live in New York State? That's insane, right? Because return of capital, of course, is not taxed at the state level, at the city level, at the school district level, you name it. It's not taxed. So it's absolutely amazing for these people, right? The higher of a tax state you live in, the more appealing this is, and so absolutely stunning. Then you talk about quantum. Okay, and of course, iatrogenic terms. Iatrogenic, right, is an academic term, but it means the treatment hurts you more. The treatment hurts you more than whatever ailment you had, and he always takes the example that they bled George Washington to death with bloodletting for a disease that he had. I can't remember what disease he had, but it wasn't that bad of a thing. But the treatment killed him. Right? And so that's why Saylor has always said for quantum, I'm an advocate of moving very slow, because yes, it could be a threat, but the treatment is a bigger threat than the actual threat. And I fundamentally agree with the statement. And even the bankless guys, they mention what, a few million coins are at risk, is what they said. A few million coins are at risk. Yes, the old coins, the including the Satoshi coins, right? The very old coins are at risk, right? Because they published the public key, because they double spent on the public key. Right? They spent twice with the same address. Now, this is something no Bitcoiner has done since like 2015. Right? Because even in 2015, they were thinking about the quantum risk. So most modern wallets will, whenever you spend money, will empty all of the Bitcoin and turn it into other public keys that have never been spent from. Other public keys that have never been spent from. And of course, you may have the best computer ever. You can't infer the private key from the public key. The public key is not public. Right, so early in the days of Bitcoin, the early days public keys were public. Nowadays, anybody who uses Bitcoin doesn't have public keys, right? Does not have public keys, and that's a standard practice, right? So quantum is really about a few million coins who could potentially be compromised, and that would crash the price of Bitcoin. Probably would do a big crash, right? But may I remind you, we've crashed almost 50% for something totally unrelated to Bitcoin the past 6 months, right? I mean, we've had crashes in Bitcoin, and of course for Saylor, I'm sure Saylor would not be fazed if Bitcoin crashed 50% because of quantum. He would probably be buying more. It'd be like whatever, and of course he fully expects Bitcoin to go to 1 million and then drop back to 600K or 500K, right? And people will panic, but not Saylor because he's done it before. And he also mentioned something very, very fascinating on quantum, and I entirely agree with this way of thinking. He said, we talk about the risk of quantum, because we do it for the views, we do it for the clicks, we do it for engagement. But how about the fact that quantum could probably unleash the greatest amount of wealth humanity has ever seen? Right? I'm paraphrasing, but this is the way I understand it. Like there's tremendous things that we could do with quantum computing, including understanding physics, mastering physics, mastering the real world, not using bits in order to compute nature, but compute nature with actual elements of nature, with actual nature, using nature as an actual compute system. Quantum could unleash insane amount of wealth, like insane technologies that you could manifest with quantum. If you want to learn about quantum, I recommend this book called Quantum Supremacy by Michio Kaku. Of course, he's a vulgarizer of science, right? But he's also like a real PhD scientist and stuff. Very, very good book, Quantum Supremacy. But you could manifest the rules of physics. You could just uncover rules of physics. We have no idea. How about quantum could actually unleash the greatest amount of wealth humanity has ever seen? AI 10x, and that could actually benefit Bitcoin, because Bitcoin would still remain a scarce asset, even though there could be a few more million coins in circulation. And I think that's a very good point. This is corollary to one of the Cathy Wood points. She made a very, very good point in a podcast that I listened not too long ago, talking about how longevity could actually double GDP. Longevity could actually double economic growth, because think about that. If people stop dying at 85 and they start dying at 125, you're essentially doubling the oscillation of the economy, right? The velocity of the money can double, because all of a sudden people who died at 85 now die at 125, and they have 40 extra years of spending that was not accounted for, and that's going to go into the economy, because you oscillate, right? You oscillate the funds. The money changes hands. The longer you live, the money changes hands. And sure, when you're younger, you have higher velocity of money. Like money changes hands like 5 times or 6 times a year when you're younger. When you're older, maybe it changes out 4 times a year. But even then, if you're healthier, the velocity of money is going to increase, and it's going to be good for GDP. So she was making that point about longevity and about how we should go all in on longevity. Saylor, in my view, is making a similar point about quantum. We should go all in on quantum because we could actually unleash great amounts of wealth, which would benefit everybody, right? And it's a positive sum game. Everything's a positive sum game. Anyways, moving on to Saylor. Saylor views on ETH, Hype, Sol, Sui. He mentioned those. I love that he jumped to mention Hype first, which tells me that he's really following the sector. Of course, Hype, perhaps the fastest growing blockchain in the history of blockchains. I mean, I don't have the data on this. I don't follow it too closely, but I know Hype's a big deal. He called them staking networks. That's very interesting. I've never seen anybody refer to them as this. Of course, they are staking networks, but that's what he called them. And here's what he said about it. He said his view changed when the administration stance changed. And it's true. Like I remember his diatribes against ETH back in the day. His main thing was, they're going to be regulated by the SEC, and ETH's going to be regulated by the SEC, and they're all going to get in trouble. And his view changed when the administration changed, and of course, Saylor has been very good at changing his mind when the facts change, and yeah, he said that very clearly. And here's what he said about the rest of the crypto. He said it's blurry. It's the West, I'm paraphrasing here, but he also started dreaming and said it's essentially a dream. It takes 2 to 3 years for a company to go public. He was saying thanks to these tools, if we actually get a legislation into the law, you could make fundraising much easier. You could have stablecoin payments on South Rail. I think he's very excited about staking networks, as he calls them, but he still calls it the Wild West, and I would argue that's a take that a lot of people have, and we might have a much clearer picture about the role of these blockchains, maybe 5-10 years down the road. We are not there just yet. Of course, if you're wondering on this channel, I like Solana a lot. I am not very big on ETH at all. I like Solana a lot. And Hype, I like Hype a little bit. Solana, of course, burns quite a bit of tokens in their algorithm, but Hype burns 99% of the algorithm. So Hype is kind of like forcing itself to go up. It's like it's like Apple stock, right? Why is Apple stock up? Because Apple's spending all of its cash buying back the shares. And Saylor also made that statement. It's like Bitcoin's gonna go up because we're buying it. And just us buying it is going to make Bitcoin go up. And he's right? They're absorbing the supply. So very, very bullish interview, and I highly recommend it. So anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.